Okay, so hi guys! Welcome back to my channel. So for today, we'll be talking about the reproductive system. Shran! Okay, yan na ate twist. So I'll be adding your comments before regarding the reproductive system as fun facts sa ato ang video today. So I'll be allotting a space here or here sa ato ang fun facts. Charan! Okay, so anyways, I'll also be accepting calls from you regarding the reproductive system and your questions about it rather. So before we start, I would like to congratulate you all. You are the best sperm kaya naka-penetrate mo sa egg sa inyong mom. So yan, naka-survive na mo karon your baby. Oh my gosh, congrats, good job. Oh my gosh, kako na ni. Okay, pero pa na yun. Okay, so karon maghuwat na ta sa ato ang first color. Okay, correct. So our first color is Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Hi, shout out ko nimo Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Hello. Okay, so let's listen to her question.
What's the difference of sexual reproduction?
Okay. So, kanang asexual reproduction does not involve the fusion of gametes or change in the number of chromosomes. Yeah, sexual reproduction requires the formation of mobile sperm that swims to an egg and can occur through internal fertilization or by external fertilization.
Yeah, also like external or internal fertilization.
Kanang internal fertilization is the process where the union of male and female gametes occurs inside the female body. There is a need to be a method for the male to introduce the sperm into the female's reproductive tract sac. And the external fertilization is the union of the male and female gamete outside the female body. So typically, mahitabo na siya on moist areas or wet areas para ma-facilitate ang movement of sperm to the egg. Yeah, ang development ana can be direct or indirect as the egg is fertilized.
Last na, kanang direct to indirect development, o sanay na sila?
Okay. Direct development is kanang pag-birth pa lang na ano, pag-birth lang sa bata kay resemble na siya sa nawong or like sa structure sa iyang parent. Yeah, ang indirect development kay the animal spends the early part of its lifetime as a larva. So kani siya kay mo ni siya ang stage niya kanang lahi siya nawong sa iyang parent. So bali pareha sa butterfly, like nag-larva stage pa siya, then caterpillar pa siya, tapos siya rin yahin mo siya butterfly, so pareha siya lang sa iyang parent. So mo na siya indirect development.
Sige, thank you.
Sige, thank you, Sad. Okay, so before we go deep into this topic, let's just focus on the human na ato ang mga structures sa reproductive system. So I will start with describing the functions and the different parts of the female reproductive systems.
So ang female reproductive system na siya numerous functions, and it has two main functions, which are to produce, maintain, and transport egg cells necessary for reproductions, and to enable sperm to enter the body para ma-fertilize ang egg. Okay, so we have the ovaries. The ovaries produce female gametes or the eggs and sex hormones, estrogen, and progesterone. Each ovary is surrounded by a fibrous sac that contains a layer of connective tissues called the tunica albuginea, charot, and another layer of cuboidal epithelial cells called the germinal epithelium. The ovary itself contains the cortex, which houses developing eggs, and the medulla, which contains the blood vessels and the nerves. So the ovarian follicles are inside the cortex, and it is the basic reproductive unit, and is a tiny sac-like structure that each holds a single primary oocyte that has a bunch of supporting follicles around it. So now we have the fallopian tube. So the fallopian tube serves as the tunnel for the ova or the egg cells to travel from the ovaries to the uterus, and usually it's 10 centimeters long. And when the egg leaves the ovaries, they travel through the peritoneal cavity before they reach the fallopian tube. Conception, the fertilization of an egg by a sperm, normally occurs in the fallopian tube, and whether or not it is fertilized, it moves to the uterus. So, kaning egg moves to the uterus. So, the uterus is a hollow pear-shaped organ that is home to a developing fetus. It ends with the cervix, and the uterine wall is composed of three layers: the perimetrium, myometrium, and the endometrium. The perimetrium is the outermost layer, and the myometrium contracts during labor, and the endometrium is the inner mucosal lining. So now we have the vagina. So the vagina is the canal that joins the cervix, katong lower part sa ato ang uterus, to the outside of the body. It is also known as the birth canal, where menstrual blood and babies leave the female's body and how sperm gets in. So now we have the vulva, which includes the mons pubis, the pubic bone, labia majora and labia minora, which surrounds the vestibule, which contains the urethra and vaginal openings.
Okay, so now we'll go to the male reproductive system.
So the male reproductive system has three functions. These are to produce, to maintain, and to transport sperm, the male reproductive cells and protective fluid, semen, to discharge the sperm with the female reproductive tract during sex, and to produce and secrete male sex hormones responsible for maintaining the male reproductive system. Okay, so now we'll go to the parts of the male reproductive system. So we have the scrotum. The scrotum contains the testicles, which is also called the testis, as well as many nerves and blood cells. So the scrotum acts as a climate control system for the testis. For normal sperm development, the testis must be at a temperature slightly cooler than the body temperature para dili na siya makuan ang sperm. So ang testis, responsible for making testosterone, the primary male sex hormone, and for generating sperm. Within the testis are coiled masses of tubes called seminiferous tubules, which are responsible for the production of sperm cells. So now we have the epididymis. It is a long tangled set of tubes behind the testis and joins with the duct from the seminal glands. Now we have the ejaculatory ducts. It is a duct where semen is ejaculated. Then the seminal vesicles is a pair of small hollow glands behind the bladder that secrete yellowish, slightly alkaline fluid that contains coagulating enzymes, fructose, and other stuff, and is the liquid in which the sperm is carried together with the testicular fluid and the gland secretion. The prostate glands contract to squeeze its own special secretion into the urethra during ejaculation. This stuff contains acids and enzymes that keep semen liquid. The bulbourethral gland is a pea-sized gland below the prostate gland that secretes clear mucus that drains into the urethra to clear out any acidic urine prior or before ejaculation. So the urethra is the passageway where semen and sperm leaves the body. Nya ang penis.
Pronunciation of it.
Basta ka na, kay mo na siya ang male organ used in sexual intercourse where sperm gets out. It consists of the glans penis surrounded by a foreskin. Internally, the penis contains a layer of erectile tissue which is wrapped in a layer of dense fibrous connective tissues that's full of tiny vascular tissues that fill with blood during sexual arousal and make the penis expand and become rigid, which helps it penetrate the vagina during sexual intercourse.
So karon maghuwat na sa mga calls and questions ninyo. Okay na natin call. Hello? What is your question?
Pwede niyo ba ma-describe ang events associated with human sperm and egg production? Have you also influence sa hormones and needs?
Okay. So, the events associated with human sperm is the spermatogenesis, which is the production and maturation of the sperms. Nya, kanang sa egg production is the oogenesis, which is the primary egg cell becoming a mature ovum and will future develop. So, ang spermatogenesis is the production and maturation of the sperm cells and is also influenced by follicle-stimulating hormones, which triggers the Sertoli cells to release androgen-binding protein, or ABP. Luteinizing hormone, on the other hand, triggers the Leydig cells to release testosterone. Then the testosterone binds with the ADP to basically produce the sperm, and spermiogenesis, which is the final stage of spermatogenesis. Okay, so now we'll go to oogenesis. So eggs mature one by one. Yeah? Each month, the egg is either fertilized or dies to make way for a new egg. So we have the menstrual cycle in girls, which prepares the uterus for the fertilized egg. And it is influenced by the hormones estrogen and progesterone, which are involved in maintaining the uterus lining. Now we have the ovarian cycle, where the maturation of follicle and egg happens. This is influenced by follicle-stimulating hormones, which cause a slow increase in estrogen production, and the luteinizing hormone, which is produced by the pituitary gland in response to the changes and causes the release of the egg.
Sige, thank you.
Sige, thank you, Sai. Okay, so next caller, please. Okay, so our caller is Miss Ima Amazing. Okay. Okay, hello?
Hi. So, paasam ko, pwede niyo ma-describe ang event with human human fertilization until childbirth? Since lang.
Okay, so fertilization is the process in which haploid gametes fuse to form a diploid cell called a zygote. So to ensure that each zygote has the correct number of chromosomes, only one sperm can fuse with one egg. So, so during sexual intercourse, the sperm swims to the egg. More or less, only a dozen gets through it. Okay, out of millions of eggs, kay kanang kuan na sila mga ato sa wrong direction, killed by the acidic environment of the vaginal canal. Others cannot penetrate to the mucus that surrounds the surface, and even katong mga nakasuccessfully langoy dito unahan sa vaginal canal, which then reaches the uterus, are often killed by the white blood cells nga nagabantay dito dapita. So inigabot na anang mga dozen, more or less 12 sperms nga nag-try o penetrate sa cell. Usara jud ang maka-penetrate niya mo join with that, and then ma-fertilize na ang egg. Okay, so basically the instructions for the cells inika fertilize niya kay to divide, differentiate, and develop after fertilization. So human fertilization involves uniting the male and female gametes in a series of 4 events. So these events are zygotic stage, blastocyst stage, embryonic stage, and the fetal stage. Okay, so ato na siyang hinahinayad kay medyo taas ra ba ni siya. So the zygotic stage is where the zygote is formed when the male gamete, which is the sperm, and the female gamete, which is the egg, is fused. So, fertilize na ang eggs. So, we'll be having the blastocyst stage. It is where the single-celled zygote begins to divide into a solid ball of cells. Then it becomes a hollow ball of cells called a blastocyst attaching to the lining of the mother's uterus. So, during a stage, kaya mo occur ang dividing. Kaya diba, divide, differentiate, to develop. So, diri mo occur ang dividing. So, it begins the cleavage phase where the cell splits into 2 over and over. It starts 24 hours after the fertilization when one zygote turns into 16 cells called the blastomeres. Then eventually an embryonic human. So after 3 days of fertilization, these divisions, katong mga blastomeres, form into morula, which marks the end of the cleavage phase. Yeah, so the cells then make up the morula, kaya form na sila into hollow sphere filled with fluid, which is called the blastocyst. Inside the trophoblast is a cluster of smaller cells which form what we call the inner cell mass, which will eventually turn into the embryo later on. Note na while nagpadayon nga process kay ang egg nag-move na siya into the uterus. So nag-move siya while nag-divide into smaller cells. So, okay. So, the blastocyst arrives the uterus. And abot na siya sa uterus, guys. Yeah, floats around siya for a few days, soaking up secretions para mabuhi siya. So, about a week after ovulation, it now needs permanent nutritional support. Kaya kailangan medyo permanent, diba? Kaya kapoy ka ng temporary na lang. Diyos! Itlog ka girl. So, mo to siya. Kailangan mo siya permanent na nutritional support. So, mo stick siya sa endometrial layer and starts the process of implantation with the help of estrogen and progesterone from the corpus luteum. So the endometrium slowly receives the blastocyst, allowing the uterine lining to bind the little proteins of the trophoblast, holding on to them for the duration of the pregnancy. So hold on siya, guys. Okay, so anyway, so implantation then takes place and takes about 5 days and finishes up around 12 days after ovulation, right around when menstruation would otherwise kick in and slop off the endometrium, which would be bad. So the trophoblasts secrete a luteinizing hormone, which is called the human chronic gonadotropin, or the HCG, which communicates with the corpus luteum to make it pump more estrogen and progesterone. So the embryonic stage, oh my gosh, stage 3, guys, let's go. So the major internal and external features begin to emerge, forming an embryo. In this stage, the heart, the brain, and the spinal cord become visible na. Yeah, arms and legs start to develop. So here, the placenta an organ which only appears during pregnancy, is created by the melding of both maternal and embryonic tissues, and it has taken shape as we enter the embryonic stage. Together with the umbilical cord, it provides direct transfer of nutrients, hormones, and waste between mother and offspring. Yeah, during a stage, kay muukor ang differentiation. Diba, divide, differentiate, develop. So here, the blastocyst differentiates into various cell types and develops into legit smaller embryos surrounded by an amniotic sac and hooked up to the placenta, which on the end of the 8th week, we will now officially call it a fetus. So from an embryo to a fetus. So now we have the last stage, the fetal stage. So once the form features of the embryo begin to grow and develop, the organism is considered a fetus. Now fetus. Differentiation and specialization of structures happen during this time. So over the next several months, it rapidly develops organs and bones and grows into a baby. Yeah, into a baby. Yes. So the growing placenta is still secreting estrogen and progesterone, but it is also pumping out relaxin, a hormone that loosens joints and ligaments to increase flexibility, and it also releases human placental lactogen, or HPL, which tells the fetus to grow and ma-ready na ang breast to lactate and mayon sa body sa mama to hoard glucose for the fetus to use. So as labor nears, the fetus secretes oxytocin, which binds to the receptors and tells the placenta to release prostaglandins. And these two hormones, the oxytocin and prostaglandins, mo stimulate sa uterine muscles, which then starts contracting. Yeah, when it gets strong enough, maka-initiate na siya og labor. Ano na sa stages ang labor? So the first stage of labor is dilation. It is the contraction until the cervix is fully dilated, which urges the mother to push. And kaning push, mo begin na siya sa atong expulsion stage, which pushes through until childbirth. Yeah, placental stage of labor, which is within about 30 minutes after the delivery. Kinigawas na mga bata. Yay! Strong contractions continue, dislodging the placenta from the urinal wall. Dahil mo na siya ang atong afterbirth. Kinigawas na atong placenta. So, mura rin yung nanganak balik. But like, ang placenta, ang nigawas, dili ang anak. Okay, so to determine the sex difference, a karyotype determines the sex differences of a fetus. So, ang chromosome from the sperm cell, either X or Y, fuses with the X chromosomes in the egg cells. Nya, kani sila, kani mga karyotype mo determines a phenotypic difference between the male and the female. So, if XX siya ka, it's a girl. Nya, if XY siya, it's a boy. So, mo na siya. So, kanang tungod nila, ma-trigger ang kanang change sa tuang fetus. So, mao ni siya ang chromosome nga ma-determine sa imuhang or sa gender sa fetus or the child. So, kanang these then develop into ambiguous genitalia. So, it's either female reproductive system or male reproductive system ang slowly form niya. Kaya mga biya dyan na, oh, it's a girl, it's a boy. Yeah, like that. Okay, so now we'll, I think, to siya.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sige, thanks. Okay, now we'll we'll wait for the next caller. Okay, our next caller is Mr. Paul Wu. Hello.
Hi, mga tanong naman tali ko. On how niyo pag-prevent sa contraceptives ang pregnancy?
Okay, so contraceptives work by stopping sperm from joining with an egg, which is fertilization. So, ang contraceptives kay makapakuan siya para dili ma-form ang baby. So, we have different ways of doing that and using contraceptives. So, the first way is through sterilization, wherein a doctor snips or blocks or ties the fallopian tube or the vas deferens permanently para dili na jud na mo agi di ang egg or ang sperm. We also have the barrier method, which work mostly by physically blocking either the sperm or the egg. So we have the condoms, which are used to cover the penis. Okay, well, the pronunciation. And these catch ejaculated sperm, preventing it from going anywhere, while diaphragm, sponges, cervical caps, and female condoms are inserted in the vagina, where they can form a wall over the cervix blocking the sperm. So we also have the usage of intrauterine device, or the IUD, which is a small T-shaped object that is inserted into the uterus to prevent the zygotes from implanting. Because even if the sperm and the egg manage to complete fertilization in order for gestation to take place, the zygote will need nutrients. Nga, kung di na siya maka-go to the uterus, kay magkalisod na siya o nutrients, guys. Oh, so kalma sa egg. Yeah, oh my gosh. Okay, anyways, we also have the hormonal contraceptives, which are using the synthetic estrogen to prevent the progression of the ovarian cycle to perform ovulation. So no ovulation means that there is no egg hanging around for the sperm to fertilize, so pregnancy cannot happen. Some pills also thicken the mucus of the cervix. This thicker cervical mucus blocks the sperm so it cannot swim to the egg. Kind of like a sticky security guard. So like, oh, dili pwede makakita dali sperm. Kasi egg dito. Oh my gosh. Okay, so mga to siya.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now waiting for the next caller. Okay, so our next caller is Miss Haya. Hi. Okay, hello. What is your question?
Pwede ka mga talungan ng example sa sexually transmitted infections, ate?
Okay, so we have different sexually transmitted infections. So I'll just talk about some. We have HIV, which is the human immunodeficiency virus. It harms the immune system by destroying the white blood cells that fight infection, and this can put someone in risk of cancer. We also have AIDS, which means acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. It is when you contract HIV, and which can lead to the development of AIDS, or stage 3 of HIV. So HIV is a virus, AIDS is a condition. So we also have the chlamydia. We have the chlamydia, which is caused by a bacteria called the Chlamydia trachomatis. So we also have the syphilis, a bacterial infection that starts as a painless sore, typically on the genitals, rectums, or the mouth. This is spread via skin or mucous membrane contact with such sores. We also have the genital herpes, which is caused by the herpes simplex virus after the initial infection, and the virus lies dormant in a person's body and can reactivate several times a year. We also have the genital warts, or the venereal warts, or the condylomata aquaminate. Yes, which is caused by human papillomavirus, which is also known as HPV. These are soft growth that appears on the genitals. They cause pain, discomfort, and itching. Certain high-risk types of HPV can cause cervical cancer in women. So we now have the gonorrhea, which attacks the liver and can cause both acute and chronic diseases. This most often affects the urethra, rectum, or throat, and in females, the cervix, and usually spread during vaginal, anal, or oral sex. And hepatitis B is the infection of the liver and can scar the liver, cause liver failure, and even cause cancer. It is spread when in contact with the blood, open sores, or body fluids of someone who has hepatitis B. So, mao to siya.
Okay, thank you sa information.
Sige, thank you, Sad. Okay, so mao to siya, guys. I hope nakasabot mo sa akong ipangyaw and I gave you the sufficient information that you needed. So I would like to thank Aina Hanyate, Joyce Clarin, Feliz Polanco, Victor Caverte, Paul Cavalida, Isabel Alviola, Ima Garcia, and Sam Machata. And also sa akong mga cousins, Joshua Auman and Johanna Auman, and also sa akong manghod nga si Hyacinth Auman. Thank you so much, guys, kay napuyo ko sa bukid sa internet there. But nakasurvive ko tungod nila, so thank you so much, guys. So thank you so much for watching. Also, I would like to thank Crash Course and also the writer of this book, Mr. Richard Walker. And this is Making Life, How We Reproduce and Grow. Nasa na siya volume 1 to 8. Yeah, kanang specifically this is volume 4, Making Life. Charan. Dako kaning tawa na ako kay wala Google, wala internet. Anyways, thank you so much for everyone who have contributed to this. And I hope you learned a lot. Bye! Fun fact, guys, ang females, kaya na, during the fetal life, has about 7 million eggs, and from this time, no new eggs are produced. And at birth, there are approximately 1 million eggs, and the time of puberty, about only 300,000 remain. Of these, only 300 to 400 will be ovulated during a woman's reproductive lifetime, and fertility can drop as a woman ages due to decreasing number of quality of the remaining eggs. So, mo na siya moagi taog menopause, guys. So, ang mga males, mo produce like roughly 525 billion cells, sperm cells, over a lifetime, and shed at least 1 billion of them per month. A healthy adult male can release between 40 million and 1.2 billion gravidated sperm cells in a single ejaculation. So, mo to siya ato ang fun facts, guys. So, ang, di ba, ang female mo agi man sila menopause niya. Ang male kay, di man na sila mo pause kay men, no pause. Dili mo pause, produce, dili mo hunong. Oh my gosh, ulit. So, dili na sila hunong o produce ng sperm, while the females kay na marag cut off na din na silang kapanganak. So, fun fact or yes, information, the oldest father, yes, ang pinaka-old na nakapanganak, nakabasta ka na, kay 96 years old, and he eats a diet rich in vegetables and almonds, and he claimed, yes, mo na siya, information to siya, guys. So, pwede pa jud, pwede pa gihapon makapanganak ang laki, ay dili ang laki manganak, but like tungod nagsige siya produce with sperm and all.